Habakkuk 2. Write the vision and inscribe it on tablets, so that he who reads it runs. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, and it speaks of the end and does not lie. If it lingers, wait for it shall certainly come. It shall not delay. A book of remembrance, Malachi 3. Then shall those who fear Yahuwah speak to one another, and Yahuwah listens and hears. And a book of remembrance be written before him of those who fear Yahuwah and those who think upon his name. So there's the book of remembrance written of those who fear and think upon his name. A book of life, as we mentioned in the last report. The reason it's the book of life is because at the end of the scroll, Moshe came with Hoshea son of Nun and spoke all the words of the song. Set your heart on all the words with which I warn you today, so that you command your children to guard to do all the words of this Torah. For it is not a worthless word for you, because it is your life. It's the book of life, and by this word you prolong your days. So we see that the result of reading the book and writing it down is they prolong their days on the soil, just as a result of the king in his book, so that his heart is not lifted up above his brothers, and so as not to turn aside from the command right or left, so that he prolongs his days in his reign. So this is not a worthless word. This word is the vine, the light, the bread of life. Yahushua ate this word and became the word. He became the message. He is the vine. He is the life. He is the word. I have revealed the word to you and have showed you where it is in the law and the prophets and the Psalms. Now the question is, will you write it down and take it to heart? Will you decide that it's not worth the time and effort and work? And that is for you to determine. I'm not commanding you to fear Yahuwah. I am teaching you how to truly begin learning to fear Yahuwah. And it shall be when he sits on the throne of his reign, that he shall write for himself a copy of this Torah in a book, from the one before the priests and the Levites. And it shall be with him, and he shall read it all the days of his life, so that he learns to fear Yahuwah, his Elohim, and guard all the words of this Torah and these laws to do them. This is what is meant by work out your own deliverance with fear and trembling. So, as is written in Philippians 2, so that, my beloved, as you always obeyed, not only in my presence, but now much rather in my absence, work out your own deliverance with fear and trembling. For it is Elohim who is working in you both to desire and to work for his good pleasure. Do all matters without grumblings and disputings, in order that you be blameless and faultless, children of Elohim without blemish in the midst of a crooked generation, in the midst of a crooked and perverse generation. So we see Philippians, the writer of Philippians, referencing the scroll as well, addressing his own vine, among whom you shine as lights in the world. We see in Deuteronomy 32, a twisted and crooked generation has corrupted itself. They're blemished, they are not as children. So Philippians, it says, in order that you be blameless and faultless, children of Elohim without blemish in the midst of a crooked generation, among whom you shine as lights in the world. Holding on to the word of life, for a boast to me in the day of Messiah, that I have not run in vain or labored in vain. We see referencing back to the word of life. For it is not a worthless word for you, because it is your life. So will you work out your own deliverance with fear and trembling, as alluded to in Yirmiyahu? Thus spoke Yahuwah, Elohim of Israel, saying, write in a book for yourself all the words that I have spoken to you. For this is what Yahuwah said, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. This invitation is for everyone, even sovereigns, and has made us sovereigns and priests to his Elohim and Father. So there's many sovereigns and priests. And now be wise, O sovereigns, and be instructed, you rulers of the earth. Serve Yahuwah with fear, and rejoice with trembling. You can be certain David made sure to teach Solomon the truth. It is evident in his Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 3. My son, do not forget my Torah, and let your heart watch over my commands. For length of days and long life and peace they add to you. He said to them, set your heart on all the words with which I warn you today, so that you command your children to guard to do all the words of this Torah. So Solomon was commanded by David through the knowledge of the scroll. Let not loving commitment and truth forsake you. Bind them around your neck, or write them on the tablet of your heart. So there's Solomon showing his command to write it, and he dressed his own vineyard, thus finding favor and good insight in the eyes of Elohim and man. Proverbs chapter 1 makes it very clear that Solomon was well aware of the importance of the Torah of Deuteronomy chapter 31. Call on the name of Yahuwah and ask him to reveal himself to you if you haven't already. Ask him to supply you with wisdom and belief, and call on the name of Yahuwah in the day of distress, and let him deliver you and you esteem him. Isaiah 46. The voice said, cry out. And he said, what do I cry? All flesh is grass, and all its loving commitment is like the flower of the field. All flesh is grass, and all its loving commitment is like the flower of the field. The grass shall wither, the flower shall fade, and the spirit of Yahuwah has blown on it. Truly the people is grass. Truly the people is grass. Grass shall wither, the flower shall fade, but the word of our Elohim stands forever. The scroll. The spirit, the word of life. A man's days in Psalm 103, we see a parallel to Isaiah. Isaiah gathering knowledge and prophetic insight from Psalms as well as the scroll. Grass shall wither, the flower shall fade, but the word of our Elohim stands forever. Or in other words, the heaven and the earth shall pass away, but my word shall by no means pass away. I tell you truly, the lesser of the people is grass, and the elder and highly respected the flower, and both shall be diminished. Solomon in all of his grandeur and splendor does not dress as well as one of those lilies. The lesser of the people is the grass, and the highly respected and the elder is the flower. In 628, so why do you worry about clothing? Note well the lilies of the field, how they grow. Note well the lilies of the field, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. And I say to you that even Solomon, in all of his esteem, was not dressed like one of these. But if Elohim so clothes the grass of the field, which exists today and tomorrow is thrown in the furnace, how much more you, O you of little belief? The sword breathes from the outside and fear from within. And we see this concept of both the lesser and the greater being subject to the same wrath. It's from the scroll. The sword breathes from the outside and fear from within. Both the young man and maiden, nursing child with the man of gray hairs, both into the spectrum. I said I should blow them away. I should make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. But out of his mercy and compassion, he's not going to make a complete end of man. This is me knocking. Ask and you shall receive. If you have not, it is because you ask not. Now, this concludes the introduction to the sealed scroll. In the next report, we will continue with the snare and see why the judgment is brought on man, so man can understand why the scroll is being read. And we'll also look at Hurricane Barry and the witness it bears to the opening of the scroll. So until next time, see ya.